Good afternoon. Welcome to the press conference with EVP Dombrovskis on the presentation of the trade policy review that has been just adopted today and that you should have already received. We have the pleasure of having the EVP with us today. So please, we can start with a brief introduction and then we will go to the questions.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the Commission is pleased to set the new course of European trade policy. This communication will be our key reference document for the coming years. Europe is rethinking the role of trade and trade policy in a world characterized by more geopolitical conflict and economic upheaval. Let me say three key words that define our strategy: open, sustainable, assertive. It is around those three concepts that we will want to build a new consensus. We reached out to EU governments, the European Parliament, businesses, civil society and citizens. What we found is a clear expectation that trade policy should serve our people and our values, as well as supporting growth and job creation. We need to strengthen Europe's focus on multilateralism. We want a global rulebook that is up-to-date, fair and sustainable. We need a trade policy that supports Europe's wider ambitions. We aim to transform our economy to achieve climate neutrality and boost our competitiveness in a well-regulated digital market. Our strategy must support our workers and businesses, and it will shore up our defenses against unfair trade practices. We need open trade more than ever to support our recovery from COVID-19 crisis. Already, 35 million jobs in the EU depend on trade, and these are high-quality jobs. Competitive gains from global trade have increased wages by 12%. We believe there is a potential to build on this strong foundation, but to do so, we must look outside our borders. This is economic reality. 85% of global growth will take place outside Europe in the next decade. So even if the current crisis feeds the temptation to look inward, this is not the answer. The EU has substantial trade surplus, so by turning inward, we can only make our economic outlook worse. The right answer to ensure Europe's prosperity is to keep trading with our global partners. We have a strong network of trade agreements to help us, 46 deals with 78 partners. Therefore, while we aim to ratify the agreements and complete ongoing negotiations, we will put stronger focus on extracting maximum value from existing deals. This will help our companies, in particular our SMEs, to find new opportunities and to speed up the recovery. We must not forget that 2 out of 3 jobs in Europe are provided by SMEs. But for global trade to work, it must be underpinned by proper global rules. The World Trade Organization has for decades provided the stability that is necessary for trade to expand, allowing countries to develop by integrating into global economy. But global rulebook is outdated. It no longer guarantees a level playing field. It does not respond to the sustainability and digital challenges. Accordingly, we have published a detailed EU agenda for reform of the WTO. Of course, it is only by developing a strong coalition with our partners that we will succeed. With a new administration in Washington and with a confirmation of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as a new Director General of the WTO, we believe we can create new momentum for positive change. The WTO reform concerns all 3 its core functions: negotiation, monitoring and deliberation, and dispute settlement, including a functioning appellate body. Trade policy must play its full role in the green and digital transformation of the EU and global economy. Our communication outlines ways that trade can support sustainability. These include a trade and climate initiative at the WTO, seeking agreement on climate neutrality in our trade and investment deals with G20 countries, making full use of our trade deals to accelerate cooperation on climate action, biodiversity, and sustainable food systems. Future deals will include Paris climate commitments as essential elements. Promoting sustainable trade also means stepping up our support for labor rights through the development of due diligence legislation, including determined action to combat forced labor. Meanwhile, to drive our digital transformation, the EU must play a central role in creating the right rules for digital trade, both at the WTO level and working closely with key partners like United States. We will make a proposal for a Trade and Technology Council centered on transatlantic leadership. Our strategy avoids digital protectionism. In this regard, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement we concluded with the UK points the way forward. It is the first EU deal containing ambitious rules on data flows while ensuring that our high privacy standards and the Gdpr are fully protected. The strength of our global relationship will be critical for achieving our wider goals. We already proposed a fresh transatlantic agenda to pave a way for a reset with the Biden administration. We want to rapidly resolve our trade disputes and restore EU-US leadership as an engine for positive global change. This work can proceed on parallel tracks. We can work at bilateral level to resolve trade irritants while advancing fast on multilateral reforms. The bottom line is simple. Whatever challenges the EU and the US face, there is no stronger values-based alliance in the world. On China, the EU goal is to restructure our partnership to be reciprocal, balanced, and fair. Our recent investment agreement demonstrates our readiness to level the playing field, not least for EU companies in China. While the comprehensive agreement on investment can address many issues, it is not panacea to deal with all the challenges presented by China. We will work closely with like-minded partners, including the United States, on issues of concern like human rights and forced labor. Closer to home, we'll step up our engagement with our neighborhood region and Africa. These countries are geographically close, with strong economic and cultural ties to Europe. Moreover, they have long-term strategic and economic growth prospects. We will therefore build closer trade and investment partnership with them to our mutual benefit. We do not forget, of course, our commitment to other parts of the world, particularly the burgeoning Asia-Pacific region, the source of so much future economic growth. We reaffirm our commitment to conclude the series of FTAs with the partners in the region, notably with Australia and New Zealand. And we will continue to advance our work on Latin and Central America, where we are working towards the ratification of deals with Mercosur and Mexico, and we are also committed to conclude an agreement with Chile. The EU will be more assertive in pursuing our interests and protecting ourselves from unfair trade practices. Europe plays by the rules, and where necessary, we will be proactive in upgrading those rules. Our WTO Reform Plan will address issues such as competitive neutrality, subsidies, and state-owned enterprises. But we also need to strengthen our own capacity to level the playing field and defend ourselves when our partners do not play by the rules. This will include preparation of the Anti-Coercion Instrument and exploring options for an EU strategy for export credits. We will also be doing more on implementation and enforcement. European businesses and workers need to benefit from the agreements that we have negotiated. We will develop new tools to support our companies, particularly SMEs, and we must ensure that our partners respect their commitments, both on market access and on environmental and labor rights. Already last year, we appointed a Chief Trade Enforcement Officer and upgraded the EU enforcement regulation. This shows our willingness to take a tougher approach, and we will follow through. We are also conducting a review of our action plan to make the implementation and enforcement of trade and sustainable development chapters more effective. The results of this review will help us to determine our next steps. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, this communication presents a distinct European approach that we call open strategic autonomy. We believe a new consensus on trade policy is necessary, both within the EU and at the global level. This communication is a strong basis to engage with our partners in building that consensus. Thank you.